If you're trying to figure out what's going on in a worksheet that you haven't seen in a long time or maybe never, it would be really helpful if you could get a handle on the formulas. Where are they? What do they look like? How many are there? So there are two techniques we can use here. They're complementary. One will actually show us every cell that has a formula in it by showing the formula instead of the result. Now, if I click on cell B7, for example, here, I can certainly see in the formula bar that that's a formula. I could also double click in the cell. But we're only seeing one formula at a time. So although we need to do this at times, and of course we always keep an eye on formulas and worksheets, let's expose all of the formulas at the same time. Now, let me zoom in on this cell here to get you oriented with the shortcut. One of Excel's better keystroke shortcuts is to hold down the Control key and then click this key that has a tilde on the top and an accent grave, as it's called in French, on the bottom. Some workbooks and Excel itself will tell you this is the keystroke shortcut, and that's fine. That's actually accurate. But a lot of us see this and then we say, well, I guess I'm not sure what that means. Is that the apostrophe? Is that near the Enter key? Or which one is this? It's on the key that has the tilde with it. I often refer to this when I'm teaching in a live session. I say use Control tilde. Do not use the Shift key. This key is typically on the upper left corner of your keyboard. Now, what does it do? Let me zoom back a little bit with Control and the mouse wheel. When you press this button, one of two things happens. It either, as it will the first time, double the width of all columns, and wherever there's a formula, like in B7 and in B10 down below here, we see the formulas instead of the results. We see that in D13, also in E13. And the reason the column widths are doubled is because we have a greater likelihood of seeing the actual formula because they tend to be wider than cell widths usually are. Now, this isn't perfect. For example, in D13, we're still not seeing all that, even under its normal display. So if you wanted to print this, that might be a good idea. You could do that, readjust all the column widths and print this. Now, this is what we call a toggle button, meaning if we simply press this combination again, Control with that key that's got tilde on it, we simply revert to the standard display. So think of it this way. I use this all the time. It's one of the first things I do when I'm looking at a worksheet that I can't figure out what's going on inside of it, like this one here. What is this worksheet all about? It's poorly laid out. It needs some work. It needs some realignment, some adjustments, some clarification. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. I want to know and see the formulas. You'll also find this in the ribbon, but depending upon your display, it might not be so obvious. On the Formulas tab, if you have a wide display and you are seeing the ribbon the way I am here, you do see the Show Formulas button. And as I slide over this, notice the pop-up tip below it, Show Formulas, Control plus, and as you look at that there, that symbol could hardly be smaller. It does refer to that slanted accent symbol, accent grave that we see. And of course it is correct, but yet a lot of people see that and they sort of, read through it or it doesn't register. If you have a slightly different screen display and the ribbon is displayed in a more narrow fashion, as it might be sometimes, you won't even see that phrase, Show Formulas. You'll see just the symbol. And that symbol is pretty far removed from actually suggesting what it does. And you could easily overlook this feature this way. But let's face it, once you learn the keystroke shortcut, I think you'll find it really handy because it just invariably, as I press it again, reveals those formulas, helps you figure out what's going on in a worksheet, or you just want to focus on certain formulas. You see them quickly and easily. And again, it's not designed in any way to do any damage. It doesn't alter anything except the look of things, and you go right back to normal with the same keystroke shortcut. Now, a companion to this, and we could use it on this worksheet, I'm actually going to use it on a copy of the worksheet, is not a keystroke shortcut, but it's a way to actually highlight the cells that have formulas. And a companion idea to this might be to quickly highlight the cells that have just values in them. And here the feature is not so obvious, but once you see it, I think you'll use it a lot. On the Home tab in the ribbon, the extreme rightmost button is called Find and Select. Now, before using this, you want to click on a single cell. If you highlight 2 or 3 or 5 or more cells, whatever, the search will only take place within the highlighted cells. So the counterintuitive idea here is to click on one cell, and then this feature that we're about to use will search throughout the entire worksheet. So we want to click the Find and Select, the Binoculars button on the Home tab in the Editing group. and choose Formulas. So what's happened? All the cells with formulas are highlighted. I would suggest if you want to keep those cells in your memory or remind yourself where they are, simply apply a color to them. Maybe click this button, or if you prefer a different color, click the drop arrow there on the Home tab, pick a different light color is preferable. Highlight the cells, and you're remembering why you highlighted them. Those are the cells with formulas. Now, if I write a new formula here, it's not going to turn that color, or if I erase one of these cells with a formula, it's going to keep its color. So the feature as we use it here is like a snapshot in time, and you will have to make adjustments to it if you alter the worksheet in terms of its content. Now, a companion to this isn't quite so easy to find, but it too has merit, and that's the idea of you might also want to highlight the cells that have values in them, because that helps you figure out what's going on in a worksheet as well. So using that same Find and Select button, after having selected only a single cell within the worksheet, choose Find and Select, and here the choice, not nearly so obvious, is Go to Special. And we want to choose constants. And you may notice there when I choose constants that these boxes here that seem to be related to the formulas choice, and they are also related to the constants choice. Now let's say that we might not want to highlight the cells with text or logicals or errors. Let's uncheck those and in effect highlight the cells that have strictly pure numerical values in them. That's what this means really. Click OK. And we see what's highlighted. I'm going to make those a different color, maybe yellow. So in this worksheet, at the moment, the yellow cells contain pure numerical values. The bluish cells contain formulas. And again, as you make changes in the worksheet in terms of content, you might want to get rid of all the colors and reapply these two features as needed. Maybe long-term you'll get rid of all the colors eventually, but in trying to figure out what's going on in a worksheet and to get your bearings, it might be a good idea to keep highlighted the cells with formulas and then have a separate color for the cells that have values.